Hello and welcome to CVR News Network. You're watching CVR English and this is World 360 and I'm Sandeep. World leaders have reacted to the terrorist attack in India's Pahalgam region where at least 26 people have been killed and several others have been injured. US President Donald Trump spoke to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and said Washington stands with India against terrorism. Russian President Vladimir Putin also condemned the attack and said the preparations of perpetrators of Jammu and Kashmir must be punished. Ukraine also reacted, saying it was deeply concerned over the attacks in Pahalgam. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that he was deeply saddened by the barbaric terrorist attack. European Union Chief Ursula von der Leyen also condemned the act, calling it a violent terrorist attack. Pakistan's first official response to the deadly Pahalgam terror attack, which claimed the lives of at least 28 people, mostly tourists, has raised serious eyebrows. While the Pakistani Foreign Ministry expressed concern over the loss of lives, it stopped short of condemning the attack outright. Instead, Pakistan Defence Minister Khwaja Asif sparked controversy by denying any involvement and accused India of sponsoring unrest within Pakistan. Speaking to a local news outlet, Asif claimed that the violence in Jammu and Kashmir was homegrown and a part of revolution. As the world mourns over the massacre of 28 innocent tourists in Jammu and Kashmir, Pahalgam, Pakistan and Turkey have drawn outrage by using a tragedy to rake up the Kashmir issue. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, during a meeting with Turkish President Erdogan in Ankara, thanked Turkey for its unwavering support on Kashmir just hours after the terror attack. The resistance front, a Lashkar-e-Taiba proxy, has claimed responsibility for the massacre.
Are among the leading countries that have put forward the strongest will in counter-terrorism. And I would like to take this opportunity to wish Allah's mercy to our brothers who were martyred during the terrorist attacks in Pakistan, and I'd like to wish a speedy recovery to the wounded. We continue to support Pakistan in its fight against all forms of terrorism.
I thank you, my dear brother President Erdogan, for Turkey's consistent support to Pakistan in our counter-terrorism efforts. We strongly condemn the brutal killings of over 50,000 innocent Palestinians, including women and children. We have called for an immediate ceasefire and unhindered flow of humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people. I express my sincerest gratitude to my dear brother President Erdogan for Turkey's unwavering support on the Kashmir issue and reiterated our support to the people of Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus.
Are among the leading countries that have put forward the strongest will in counter-terrorism. And I would like to take this opportunity to wish Allah's mercy to our brothers who were martyred during the terrorist attacks in Pakistan, and I'd like to wish a speedy recovery to the wounded. We continue to support Pakistan in its fight against all forms of terrorism.
I thank you, my dear brother President Erdogan for Turkey.
The coffin carrying the body of Pope Francis was taken in procession on Wednesday to St. Peter's Basilica. After the blessing at the Casa Santa Marta's Chapel, his body lying in an open casket was accompanied by cardinals as it was carried through St. Peter's Square, where worshippers applauded the late Pope. Francis, a groundbreaking reformer, died at the age of 88 on Monday from a stroke and cardiac arrest, ending an often turbulent 12-year reign in which he repeatedly clashed with traditionalists and championed the poor and marginalized. After a religious service, the faithful and general public will be allowed to visit the late pontiff until 7 p.m. on Friday, with a funeral scheduled for the next morning.
Dominus nascit rem, et nihil miriteri. Sanctorum eius, Redemptor Vericamo hostiam lauris, et nomen Domini invocamo, Simum renovamis, et in peccatum concedit te mater mei, o Sanctuni te almamo, averte faciem tuam a peccatis mei, omnes iniquitates meas meritus meis. Exsultamus Auxilium meum ad Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, omnes sancti angeli, ora te pro Sancte Abraham, ora pro eo, Sancte Moises, Sancte pro eo, Sancte Ioannes Baptista, pro eo, Sancte Toma, ora pro eo, Sancti Philippe et Jacobe, ora te pro eo, Sancte Bartolomeo, Sancti Simon et Tadeo, ora che pro eo, Sancte Mattia.
Of acres of land enforcing mandatory evacuations in Ocean and Lacey townships. As the New Jersey Forest Fire Services works tirelessly to contain the blaze, aerial footage reveals the devastating scale of the destruction. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky pushes back against calls for Kiev to recognize Russia's control of Crimea. Speaking ahead of fresh talks on ending the war, Zelensky says there is nothing to talk about, this will not happen. His comments come amid US media reports that President Donald Trump is ready to accept recognition of the annexed land in Crimea as Russian territory.
Ближчими днями буде сильно посилювати свою дипломатичну роботу не тільки на європейському континенті. Буде зустріч з головуючими Великої Двадцятки, президентом Рамафозою, Південно-Африканська Республіка, буде зустріч з президентом Польщі в форматі саміту Тримор'я в Польщі, буде зустріч з президентом Чехії, будемо брати офіційно приймати участь в прощанні з Папою Римським Франциском. Також окремо буде важлива зустріч з прем'єр-міністром Іспанії. Завтра зустріч нашої команди в Лондоні в форматі Європа, а саме Франція, Британія, Німеччина, Україна плюс Сполучені Штати Америки. Якщо русські готові до повного припинення вогню, після повного припинення вогню, з розумінням на який термін, ми готові до будь-якого формату перемовин з ними. До будь-якого. Україна не визнає юридичну окупацію Криму. Мам про що говорити. Це поза нашою Конституцією. Ближчими днями буде сильно посилювати свою дипломатичну роботу не тільки на європейському континенті. Буде зустріч з головуючими Великої Двадцятки, президентом Рамафозою, Південно-Африканська Республіка, буде зустріч з президентом Польщі в форматі саміту Тримор'я в Польщі, буде зустріч з президентом Чехії,
US President Donald Trump commented on China, emphasizing that the country must eventually strike a deal or it will face challenges in dealing with the United States. He stated that while the US wants China to be involved, a deal must be made or the US will set the terms. Trump also referenced the European Union, claiming it was established to benefit the United States, though he asserted that it no longer does so. His remarks underline his approach to international negotiations and trade deals.
Mr. President, on China, your press secretary has suggested that some progress is being made. Are negotiations actively underway? And do you agree with Secretary Bessent, who has suggested that the current standoff with China is not sustainable?
We're doing fine with China. We're doing fine with I think almost every country. Everybody wants to have involvement with the United States. As you know, We were losing $5 billion a day when, during the Biden administration, during that last year, was a horror show, what they were doing on trade, $5 billion a day. And now we have it down to a very low number because we're getting 25% from the automobile industry, from autos. We're getting 25% for steel, 25% for aluminum, and we're getting the baseline of 10%. And think of it, we're losing almost $2 trillion on trade, and those days are gone. We're not going to do that again. We're not going to let that happen. We're being ripped off by almost, I don't say every, but very close to every country. We're doing really well. I see the stock market was up nicely, but this is a transition period, and it's going to be a little while, but we are doing well with every country. Ultimately, we have something they want, and you have to view it that way. We have something they want, and they want very badly. And, it's going to be, they're coming in, they're taking treasure, they're taking jobs when they do that, and they have to pay.
But have negotiations started with China?
Are you going to play hardball with them? Are you going to mention COVID?
Well, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to mention COVID. I'm not going to say, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice, and we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. So we want them involved, but they have to, and other countries have to make a deal. And if they don't make a deal, we'll set the deal because we're the ones that set the deal. Scott and Howard and myself and others, we're going to be setting the deal, and it'll be a fair deal for everybody, and it'll be, I think it's a process that's going to go pretty quickly. We've spoken to many, many countries, and we're getting their views on things. There are a lot of things. They have VAT taxes. They have everything you can have. Don't forget, as an example, the European Union was set up to take advantage of the United States. That's why it was set. And they've done that, but they're not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Earlier today, Treasury Secretary Bessent suggested that with tariff rates as high as they are now, it's effectively an embargo of trade between the United States and China. Do you see it that way?
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to there. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
What level do you think it'll come down to if you haven't?
It'll be a fair deal for everybody, and it'll be, I think it's a process that's going to go pretty quickly. We've spoken to many, many countries, and we're getting their views on things. There are a lot of things. They have VAT taxes. They have everything you can have. Don't forget, as an example, the European Union was set up to take advantage of the United States. That's why it was set, and they've done that, but they're not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Earlier today, Treasury Secretary Bessent suggested that with tariff rates as high as they are now, it's effectively an embargo of trade between the United States and China. Do you see it that way?
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to there. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
It'll come down to if you haven't.
It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to have. It's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, but they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made, so that won't happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally.
Mr. President, on China.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his New Zealand counterpart Christopher Luxon visited a training center for Ukrainian soldiers in England on Tuesday. During the visit, the leaders were expected to discuss plans to step up defense and security cooperation, with ministers being instructed to work on a new joint conference partnership between the two countries, the statement said. Starmer said Britain and New Zealand had stood shoulder to shoulder for generations in pursuit of peace and stability.
choice they're making. And we're simply accepting the corner of the
uncrewed aerial vehicles, and obviously we've got ground vehicles and various other vehicles not on show today. So probably key about SIAS is we are founded in Mount.
They're the ones that survived. They're very coachable.
Very, very coachable.
Britain's Equalities Minister Bridget Phillipson said that the government will protect women-only spaces and offer trans people the dignity they were denied by the Conservatives. Conservative leader Camille Badenoch accused the Labours of being so desperate to jump on a bandwagon that they abandoned common sense on gender and sex. In reply, Ms. Phillipson urged the Conservatives to get offline and get on board.
Biological sex, now with the added clarity of this ruling. And we will continue our wider work with commitment, with compassion, to protect all of those who need it right across society. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a government that will support the rights of women and trans people now and always. This is a government that will support the rights of all people with protected characteristics now and always. This is a government that will support the rights of our most vulnerable now and always. And on that, Madam Deputy Speaker, there is no change to announce. I know as well that many trans people will be worried in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling. So I want to provide reassurance here and now that trans people will continue to be protected. We will deliver a full trans-inclusive ban on conversion practices. We will work to equalise all existing strands of hate crime, and we will review adult gender identity services so that all trans people get the high quality care that they deserve. The laws to protect trans people from discrimination and harassment will remain in place, and trans people will still be protected on the basis of gender reassignment, a protected characteristic written into Labour's Equality Act. Madam Deputy Speaker, this government will offer trans people the dignity that too often they were denied, that trans people will continue to be protected. We will deliver a full trans-inclusive ban on conversion practices. We will work to equalise all existing strands of hate crime, and we will review adult gender identity services so that all trans people get the high quality care that they deserve. The laws to protect trans people from discrimination and harassment will remain in place.
Trump's team launched a new task force to fight anti-Christian bias. AG Attorney General Pam Bondi accused the Biden administration of targeting the Christians and cited Biden's Easter Trans Day decision. Trump cabinet ministers like Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and Kristi Noem attended the meeting.
Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to be here for the launch of the task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias as outlined in the President's executive order. Joining me today are members of the task force and individuals who have been impacted by the anti-Christian bias. Together, this task force will identify any unlawful anti-Christian policies, practices, or conduct across the government, seek input from the faith-based organizations and state governments to end anti-Christian bias, find and fix deficiencies in existing and regulatory practices that might contribute to the anti-Christian bias. As President Trump has stated, the Biden administration engaged in an egregious pattern of targeting peaceful Christians while ignoring violent anti-Christian offenses. The President is right. Biden's Department of Justice abused and targeted Christians. Pro-life Christians were arrested and imprisoned for peacefully praying outside abortion clinics. The FBI spied on traditional Catholics in their parishes. President Biden declared Easter Sunday to be Transgender Day of Visibility. No longer. Vandalism against churches was 8 times higher in 2023 than it was in 2018. And it's at President Trump's directive, we ended those abuses at the Department of Justice on day one. We dropped 3 ongoing cases against pro-lifers and redefined the FACE Act to ensure that abuse would not continue and that American tax dollars were not used to support the weaponization of our legal system to target Christians. Just a few weeks ago, we convicted a man in Arizona for a plot to bomb Christian churches. The Department of Justice will protect religious liberty for Christians and for all Americans. We'll work closely with everyone around this table and take a whole of government approach to solving this problem, and ultimately protect Americans' First Amendment rights. The First Amendment isn't just a line in the Constitution, it's the cornerstone of our American liberty. It guarantees every citizen the right to speak freely, worship freely, and live according to their conscience without government interference. Protecting Christians from bias is not favoritism, it's upholding the rule of law and fulfilling the constitutional promise. Thank you to President Trump. We have an incredible opportunity, all of us around this table, to protect the rights of all citizens.
A Tesla dealership in Soho, Manhattan has been vandalized by the climate protest group Extinction Rebellion, New York City. The video shows 2 men painting anti-Elon Musk and anti-DOGE messages on the glass windows of the dealership before being arrested.
People do not consent to elected fascists. But you see, this is what it's about. Taking action because we don't consent, and we have power. We don't consent. Hey! Get out of the way!
And that's the end of the world 360. Stay tuned to CVR News English.